is similar to what's happening in Iran or with Graham Plattner. But it seems anytime the machine, someone in the machine, whether it's at City Hall, you get ejected or intimidated if you're not on board. Or like Commissioner Reese's case, you're not in on the plan. Oh, the plan was not to do anything serious. I think the machine just kind of fights against people. And like your point of the Democratic Party seems to be going towards the center, almost trying to return to this 2002 George Bush day, where it's this Central America, where it seems like actually the more place where people are that aren't getting spoken to is right on the extreme ends. There really is no center anymore. Which
the center of what? We have the highest healthcare expenditures in the Western world. We spend more per capita on healthcare.
For less care. Mm-hmm.
And there are 50 countries that have a higher life expectancy than the United States does. So it's a terrible return on investment unless you're a health insurance executive or shareholder. And people are angry.
Well, wait a minute. I have to interrupt here. We have health care that ranks around 40th in the world. I think we're right behind Guatemala.
Exactly.
So, I just because it costs twice as much as any civilized country, look at what we're getting for it.
I think even just the democracy. I mean, I grew up on democracy, and here we are. You have, them fiddling with elections and the charter review. So I think as I get older, I get I grew up on democracy, and we have representatives that care about me and think about my best interest. Where the more I get involved with City Hall or the current situation with the military-industrial complex of endless wars, I thought Americans, we don't want endless wars in the Middle East anymore.
Or anywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And,
there's something else.
Hey, Matt, can you access your email?
I can't now.
Okay, because I just posted up to you on an email. You need to look at it. And I hate having things read to me, so I won't do it. But it's a tribute to Zellner, written by a person who knows him, explaining why he got his butt kicked. And basically, I hate it when people read things to me. But,
this is make an exception. Can
this
we
is out
clear
there. I'm not going to tell you who
print?
wrote this, but I won't disagree with it. Jeremy Zellner lost because he is a miserable human being. Talking to the media and boasting about hundreds of calls and texts he received from well-wishers is like Trump bragging about crowd size, and it gets worse from there. And I couldn't disagree or agree more with this. And, you had a terrible candidate. As an attorney, I wouldn't have advised Courtney to do what she did. I am on her side, cheering for her all the way.
Thank you.
She picked the Tonawanda was a terrible place to be because it's Zellner land. He owns the town. Nobody got elected there this year that wasn't licking his shoes. And, it's unfortunate. And, the current mayor is the former police chief. They'll think about that. And I've done some work on political prosecutions by our local DA. And, I think it was John Flynn that I slammed on the Betty Jean Grant prosecution. He was prosecuted for videoing and sending up to Facebook video of illegal activity going on in a polling place. And she was prosecuted for over a year. And the criminal charge was dismissed based on my amicus brief, the only one of which I've ever done. And I'm quitting because I'm batting 1,000. You see, it do better than 1,000%. But, if you don't think we have political prosecutions in Erie County, we do. And, I am afraid for the nonsense here. But this is where we are. We live in the banana republic of Erie County now.
Yeah, I bet it's everywhere. It's not just here. I know in Maine we had Graham Plattner, a candidate. And anytime there's kind of a non-mainstream candidate, or even no elected officials will come out, whether it's the Kensington or the war in Iran. We have, we don't have a politician. There's certain things you're not allowed to say, and if you say them, you get the wrath. Get in line, or else, we're going to arrest you, or smear you in the media, and use our positions of power.
You see it in the fear over Mamdani delivering. Mm-hmm. And AOC's been delivering for years now, but Mamdani's in this executive role where he is able to really get things done. If our politicians wanted to do better, they could. They're not using the resources properly. And I think the difference between Republicans and corporate Democrats, which is the Democratic machine in Erie County, is plausible deniability. And I think a lot of those people were they in the Deep South, that's a very red area, they wouldn't be Democrats. They're Democrats because that's who gets the vote traditionally here.
Yeah, I thought it was too Maria White's comment, the Charter Revision Commission. She actually said in the thing that, yeah, this firm was disenfranchising minority voters in the South, but meanwhile Maria White, who's deputy mayor, is disenfranchising minority voters right here in the city. And yeah, so it's kind of this hypocrisy of those other people. And I know,
Right, and-
Bill, you have a message for our elected official in the Senate, Tim Kennedy. So this is another one of the elected officials. What does your sticker here say for the viewers?
Yeah, we have Contrarian stickers now,
Making a-
so people can read that. That's for our representative,
Yeah.
Tim Kennedy. We have 3 demands. I would note that the mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, a Democrat who would probably be considered a political moderate if he were the mayor of Oslo or Stockholm
Absolutely.
or some
Absolutely.
city in Scandinavia. But he has already espoused these positions for some time now, despite the Democratic establishment imploring him not to, fretting that it would be detriment to his electability. And of course they didn't mean that, but he won in spectacular fashion. And what we're asking of Tim Kennedy is to use the word genocide when talking about Gaza. He will not. He refers to it as a humanitarian crisis, as if it's just an inevitable consequence of a war that is only continuing to be prolonged because of Donald Trump's incompetence, nothing to do with the Israeli government. So that's the first demand, use the word genocide. The second demand is to demand Netanyahu's arrest. Mayor Mamdani is currently causing a kerfuffle, as many of you know, because he would like to see him arrested when he goes to New York City to the UN
And I'll head here.
conference.
I'd like to see Byron Brown arrested too when he returns to the city from retirement. 'Cause I think maybe the Contrarian will cover in future events, but Byron Brown is way too excited and left us in a hole. So I'd like to maybe the Contrarian can add that. But I like the idea of electing people when they return to jurisdictions which they committed wrongs.
And then the third demand is to stop accepting contributions from AIPAC, which was the largest source of donations for Kennedy, Claudia Tenney, and Nick Langworthy, the 3 representatives from Western New York in the previous election cycle. And that doesn't get talked about. It's as if their constituents are in Tel Aviv and not Western New York. Now, I just want to, on the subject of the genocide in Gaza, I just want to talk for a minute about the vast undercount of deaths in Gaza that is, in the media's unwillingness to probe into that, is a big reason why politicians like Kennedy can continue to keep their head in the sand.
But not the Contrarian. We have in our summer edition we have investigation into the whole Iran situation. I know the Buffalo News isn't covering this global issue.
And this ties into that because when they won't speak honestly about what's happening in Gaza, they have to frame the Iran war as simply just, they have to pin it all on Trump. But so the Palestinian Ministry of Health, the figure that they cite that they have for the number of deaths in Gaza is about 74,000 people since October of 2023. That figure only encompasses people in Gaza who were killed directly from military bombardments, by bullets, by bombs, whatever, and they were identified in a hospital or a morgue. That's the 74,000 people. So for the past 12 months, probably longer, 34 of the 36 hospitals in Gaza have been severely damaged or destroyed. So you no doubt have tens of thousands of people that are still buried under the rubble. They never turned up in a hospital. They weren't identified. So we know that that figure is a severe undercount just of the people that were killed by the Israeli military. That doesn't even touch on the second order fatalities, people that died of famine, dehydration, illness, cancer patients, diabetics, people that aren't receiving medication or medical treatment because Israel won't let it into Gaza. You have the sanitation infrastructure that has been completely obliterated people that are contracting illnesses from contaminated water and that sort of thing. Children sleeping in the tent encampments are literally attacked by rats in the night while they're asleep. That's according to Dr. Feroz Sidwa, an American trauma surgeon who has volunteered in Gaza. He's written several articles and done several interviews about how horrific the situation is. And the other day on his radio program, Ralph Nader cited research from other conflict zones that would suggest that the fatalities from these second-order effects typically range between anywhere from 3 to 13 times as high as the fatalities from the bombardments. So he estimates that the true death count in Gaza from all causes stemming from this genocide has to be over 600,000. It's a small enclave, the geographic size of the city of Philadelphia, with 2.3 million people. So that would still, you could have a death toll of 600,000 plus, and that would imply that 75% of Gazans are still alive, which seems kind of implausible. But that's how Tim Kennedy and his colleagues are able to get away with not confronting the Israeli regime, and they can give Netanyahu a standing ovation and not demand his arrest, which the 125 or so countries that are that recognize the ICC, they all seem to be in agreement that he has committed war crimes and that this is in fact a genocide.
Got to keep those AIPAC dollars flowing.
Yeah, I just pulled it up because, yeah, $130,000, almost 140 from Tim Kennedy, and that's as of July 5th. Nick Langworthy, 102,000. You know, it's outrageous.
Yeah, you say the G word, genocide, and the dollars stop flowing.
Now, does Congressman Kennedy, is he facing a close, tight race here? Does he need that money from Israel?
No. No.
Sure
I heard a nickname for him as the $1 Million Man because he's got a
Tell me who's
great
running
bank
against
account.
him.
I think he's,
Name the person running against him. I dare you.
he's Brian Higgins 2.0. He'll just sit here and do nothing for
I mean,
a couple of decades.
who's the
and then-
Republican candidate running against him?
There's a
Anybody
guy.
know?
There is a guy. There's a Dennis. I think his name's
Really?
Dennis something.
Really?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a dentist guy. Great. He doesn't need this money. That's the point.
Yeah, at all. Not even a little bit. Because he had over $1 million coming from the state Senate. I actually volunteered for his campaign in 2023 because he was running against my personal nemesis, Gary Dixon. He's the town supervisor of the town of West Seneca. One of my nemesis.
It's funny because Gary Dixon is he's actually the only elected official in Western New York who has come out in support of Humboldt Parkway. So it's really weird.
That's interesting.
This
I didn't
Republican
know
West,
that.
yeah, nobody in the Erie County Legislature. The City of Buffalo Common Council says that the Kensington Expressway is not a city issue. That's their official position. But yeah, Gary Dixon. Is
Broken clock is right twice
Yeah.
a day. He has his moment.
I think that's why the mainstream, right? The mainstream that we're, either left or right, and we're on our side. It is interesting when, people are very complex and have different views on different issues, and they're always changing. But I just found that out because I somebody corrected me. I said no elected official has come out in support of full restoration of Humboldt Parkway, and I was corrected that I guess Gary Dixon, who is running against someone, I think he's running for an assembly seat.
He's running against Pat Burke for the state assembly, and I am looking forward to campaigning against him after the September meeting for the Erie County Democratic Committee, because I'm actively campaigning against Jeremy Zellner to retain the position of chair. Zell, no, forever.
Yeah, the people spoke on election day coming back to camp.
He doesn't know how to run a campaign.
people
he thought
said
he
Zellner.
wasted $1.2 million
thought
on
he
a
had it
bunch
in
of
the bag.
mailers. He doesn't have a real strategy. He doesn't actually know how to run a campaign as a candidate. The red boxing with Karen Hoke, everything else, he's a nightmare.
I was just even curious how did he exist for so long as the commissioner of elections and the party chair? He was just out in the open. He wasn't hiding. He was doing these two jobs and saying
Because he was letting the Republicans do the same, I believe.
That should have been illegal, just so you know. His job as election commissioner was to oversee fair and accurate elections. And yet he had a candidate in every race. And he didn't even get off the petitions as the head of the Committee on Vacancies until I challenged him on that. Now, I have spent 42 years of election law work trying to get people on the ballot. It's one of the reasons why I think, reduction of signatures. And Zellner, as commissioner, just weaponized the Board of Elections. It was, I can tell you war stories, and we don't have time for them all. But, I'll do a whole session on some of the nonsense that we got out of the board.
Yeah.
And,
well, I think it's funny because
the Democratic people there spent full time making sure that no one except Zellner's endorsed Democratic candidates ever got on the ballot.
yeah, which leads me to
That was his life's work. That should have been illegal. It wasn't. He finally had to get out because he couldn't run for office and oversee the campaign that he was running in.
But no, he actually
Finally,
was,
somebody caught on.
he never, but he left that, but he still was intending to retain his position as chair of the party while a state senator. You're not busy?
He's still trying to be chair of the.
He is now,
yeah.
but he never planned to drop it if he had won the primary.
Yeah. But even now, after all the evidence,
Technically, he can be state senator, and that's one of the reasons why he wanted the job.
Yeah,
To
not
save him.
technically, correct, but
I think
Well, of
he's,
course
you're not
it's corrupt.
busy. You're not busy?
Well, Courtney, welcome to Pete's world.
Oh, I'm not saying it's corrupt. I'm saying, do your job. If you're a state senator, I think that might be something you should focus on, particularly at the beginning of your.
Hey, you know what the best job is
tenure.
being election commissioner. It's something like $155 a year for a part-time job with a parking space downtown. You have an army of people that you can use to pass petitions, so you can make sure that the working families' puppets get on the line. And there's.
Wow.
Why would you want to be county exec when you can be election commissioner? There's no accountability whatsoever.
Anymore.
That is the best political job. If you were a politician and you wanted patronage, that's the job to go after. That's the plump.
And Howard Johnson, he resigned from the Erie County Legislature to take this Board of Elections job. As a part of the larger musical chairs of, Brian Higgins resigned or Tim Kennedy gets appointed. So it's kind of this vacancy seat of how even Mayor Ryan, he became mayor, left the seat vacancy. So it's this giant game of political chairs. And I always come to the Bob Dylan quote of, "I'm sick of being a pawn in their game. I don't want to be a pawn." And that's essentially what we are. Is whether it's the Charter Review Commission, Israel, anything. We're just pawns, and we're not.
A fun part of the Ryan Scanlon thing. You remember Zellner had these committeeman meetings from the city of Buffalo so that they could do the dog and pony show. The committeemen, according to the rules of the Democratic County Committee, don't have any say in who gets endorsed by the Democratic Party. That's all the executive committee. And the executive committee is nothing but Zellner and all his puppet heads.
Yes.
Wow.
And the whole thing, it was a setup from the start. It was a joke. And no local media reported on that because they aren't bright enough to go look at the rules of the committee and understand that the committeemen don't have any say in what's going on. And that was just dog and pony nonsense. This was a deal from day one because Ryan needed to vacate a seat that Zellner needed so he could save his butt. And eventually somebody will probably pass a law out of New York City that says you can't be election commissioner, and party chairman too. There are rules. For instance, if you are a confidential law clerk or even a secretary to a Supreme Court judge, you can be a member of the county committee, but you can't be an officer. Okay? I mean, there are rules out there. They haven't been, put in code, but that's a judicial restriction. And if you're
Are those Article 78 lawsuits?
$500 a year to campaigns.
Would those be like a Article 78 lawsuit to challenge that? Is there any
No,
recourse?
I don't think it's ever, I don't know if it's ever been challenged, but the long and the short of it is corruption that everybody did the wink and the nod with for years.
Yeah.
I mean, how can that not be corrupt? The guy's got dozens of candidates running and he's overseeing their election. What?
Well, I think it's bad here, and I think it's not just here; it's everywhere. So I know one of the